For 2 weeks, India had been promising retaliation for a deadly attack on Indian civilians. When it came overnight, it was the largest series of airstrikes carried out in decades. 3 people killed here in Muzaffarabad in Pakistan-controlled Kashmir. India said it was targeting terror camps.
They attacked innocent, unarmed civilians. There is no truth to their claims. There were no such activities here. We live here. We've never seen anything like that. They just did this to spread fear and assert their aggression.
India says it hit 9 terror-related targets, that it showed restraint by avoiding military and civilian sites. But Indian missiles struck deep into Pakistan itself, well beyond Pakistani-controlled Kashmir. This was Bahawalpur, where India said it hit a compound belonging to the militant group Jaish-e-Mohammed. Another destroyed mosque in Muridka, where India said it struck the headquarters of Lashkar-e-Taiba, another group fighting Indian control in Kashmir.
These actions were measured, non-escalatory, proportionate and responsible. They focused on dismantling the terrorist infrastructure and disabling terrorists likely to be sent across to India.
But with burials taking place today after the strikes in Pakistan's Punjab, the heartland of its powerful military, India has delivered a blow to which Pakistan is promising a commensurate response, at a time and of a means, it says, of its choosing. At the same time, it is already claiming a win, saying Pakistani planes shot down 5 Indian military jets inside their own airspace.
The Pakistan Air Force was on full alert and our jets did not cross the borders of Pakistan. As soon as the Indian planes released their payloads, suddenly our Air Force pilots swooped down on them and shot 5 of their planes, including 3 Rafale jets. And they fell in Indian-controlled Kashmir.
The 2 armies also exchanged artillery fire across the line of control in Kashmir. As many as 13 Indian civilians reported killed, along with at least 6 people on the Pakistani side of the de facto border. This major escalation in a decades-long conflict, catalyzed by the gun attack last month that killed 25 Indians and 1 Nepali national at a beauty spot in Indian-administered Kashmir. India's right-wing nationalist Prime Minister Narendra Modi shown in muted images addressing his cabinet today. His the task, steering this nation through the most serious escalation in years with its rival nuclear power. Mirror images in Islamabad, Shehbaz Sharif with his grim-faced national security team, both India and Pakistan fielding international calls for restraint and de-escalation. Both sides also aware of the domestic demand for action and strength. Protesters in Karachi today calling for retaliation against India. And across India, civil defense drills in preparation for a possible attack. The likelihood is that a further Pakistani response would be against Indian military targets. The task for both countries now, delicate calibration of blunt military might, enough for deterrence and national pride, stopping short of full-scale war. The region entering a period of genuine jeopardy.
Well, earlier I spoke to Tuhin Singha, spokesman for the BJP, that's Prime Minister Narendra Modi's party, and I asked what he thought India's strikes had achieved.
Well, ideally, it was the responsibility of Pakistan to take the kind of action that we did. It's a shame. Pakistan today is a global embarrassment. The fact that we had to enter another country and act against terrorists who had been given a free run shows that Pakistan was complicit in encouraging these terror activities, and which is a point we have consistently been making to the entire world.
Don't you think India needs to provide the evidence that the Pakistan government was complicit, which it hasn't provided yet in the last 2 weeks?
It doesn't matter. From the last 3 decades, this is not the only attack which has been sponsored by Pakistan. 2008, there was direct complicity. What did Pakistan do? Did Pakistan even try to address the issues we had raised?
Yes, but do you think evidence needs to be provided?
We have given umpteen dossiers to Pakistan. In fact, between 2004 to 2008, there was a time when almost on an average every 35, 40 days, there would be a big terror attack in India through bomb blasts. Every time we would provide them a dossier, they would not act on it. You need to understand this is a different country. This is a new India. It would not tolerate terror activities across the border. And whether there is concrete evidence as of now or not of the particular attack in Pahalgam, fact is that over the last 3 decades, Pakistan has not acted on the numerous occasions we provided them multiple dossiers with evidence.
When do you think India will actually act on the Indus Water Treaty? When will it start trying to cut that water off?
Well, work on that has already begun. There are 4 new hydropower, there are 4 new dams which have been commissioned, to arrest the free flow of water to Pakistan. But these things are we would not be providing every details on public platform, because there has to be an element of surprise. There has to be an element of speculation in these activities.
What's your allies saying? I mean, in the past, we would have seen the Americans urging restraint and the Brits as well. What are your allies saying to India about possible escalation here?
We want partners at this point of time. We are not looking for preachers. The US is with us for sure. They may or may not act in a certain manner or may not put certain words in a message, but we know for a fact that US is with us. They have a very firm anti-terror stand. And therefore, Pakistan does not get the same support from Islamic countries, which it used to get at one point of time.
But it does have support from China, doesn't it?
Well, China has been restrained. I won't hide the fact that China, we don't have, there is a trust deficit between India and China. But again, China has been pretty restrained. China has not openly supported Pakistan.
Tuhin Singha, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Well, I'm joined now by Hina Rabbani Khar, a former Pakistani foreign affairs minister who pushed for closer ties with India. And if you were in government now, would you be arguing for retaliation or for de-escalation?
God, if I could only contextualize what has happened in our region because of the impunity that has been provided to a belligerent, rogue, terrorist state that India has become. And the spokesperson, whatever his name was from BJP, and whatever he said about India is entirely true. India is not the same India, the India that was a democratic India in India, which was a secular India. This is the India of a man, Prime Minister Modi, who was denied entry into the United States, was not issued visa there because of his record of human rights, of human killing in Gujarat. So this is the India that we're talking about, where hyper-nationalism and electoral gains has allowed them, not once, back in 2019, and even before that. I think it all started when I first started calling the world's attention to India becoming a rogue state, when they decided to do away with Security Council resolutions and re-annex Kashmir, occupied Kashmir, at will, and saying now this is India's territory and no one could challenge them on that.
But it was an attack on Indians that started this round of violence, wasn't it?
Look, absolutely, let's start with that. And you know how many attacks there have been on Pakistanis in Balochistan, which we have evidence that we have shared with the UN, unlike India, which decide to say it has no need to share any evidence. As this spokesperson of that Hindutva party, which is dividing India, which is dividing the region and the world, to be honest, said to you in your own program that they have no need to, because there's such impunity that they have no need to. All they have to do is make an accusation and then strike, go against international borders, forgo international law, humanitarian law, go and attack civilians because it feels it has the right to. So you sitting in the United Kingdom right now.
But tomorrow, why has Pakistan allowed these groups to prosper in Pakistan? Why is it not taking action against them itself?
You are making a supposition over here, and you are assuming that Pakistan has not taken action against terrorist groups when we have lost both civilians and military at higher number than, frankly speaking, any other country to report to terrorist action and to try and protect our country from terrorists. We have repeatedly said to India that terrorism is a common problem. It's a regional problem, it's an international problem. We need to put forces together for sane elements to come together to be able to deal with rogue elements. But when the state decides to use whatever is at its disposal to become a rogue state, a state itself becomes a terrorist state, then where do you go other than the United Nations?
Are even you now in favor of retaliation? I mean, you carried out peace talks with India after the Mumbai attacks. But do you now want Pakistan to hit that?
I call myself an indefatigable optimist in Pakistan vis-a-vis India, because I looked at myself as a citizen of the region, a citizen of the world, and saw that entire poverty in the subcontinent and everything that we had done was not to create circumstances of prosperity, but the other way around. when I was foreign minister, the Pakistan People's Party government decided to start trade negotiations with India to really move away, because I believed I was a generation which was post 1971, and there was no question of wars again.
Right, but
And
should
then,
Pakistan
unfortunately,
hit now? I mean, let's come back to my very first question. Should they retaliate or should they step back?
So should Pakistan wait for India to make a next claim at will, whichever parts of Pakistan, inside Pakistan's sovereign territory, to make claims, unsubstantiated claims, and claims that they feel they have no right or no responsibility to give evidence, not only to Pakistan, but even to the international community, because the BJP, Jay Shankar, and Prime Minister Modi cannot take responsibility for their internal security, which is a result of political engineering that they have done in Kashmir in front of the world. If they cannot take responsibility, if they want to outsource all the security problems on Pakistan's name and then attack at will and kill civilians, women, children, send them to hospitals in large tens of numbers, which state would you recommend to lie quietly and wait for the next attack to come by these
Rabbani,
belligerent, nationalist, Hindutva, India state terrorists?
We must leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us. So how has it all come to this? And is there any player on the global stage who can step in to encourage the two sides to move towards a peaceful resolution? India and Pakistan had only been independent for months when they fought their first war over the fate of Kashmir in 1947. Thousands died before a UN-brokered ceasefire left the majority Muslim region divided, with the promise of a vote to allow Kashmiris to have a say in their future. But that never happened. In the wake of a second war in 1965 came the establishment of a de facto border known as the Line of Control, a heavily fortified stretch of military outposts. There have been several flare-ups since, with cross-border firing. And in 1999, an upsurge of fighting in the Kargil district, lasting 10 weeks, was brought to an end by US mediation between the now nuclear-armed nations.
We're going to cover you! On three!
After the 9/11 attacks, the United States' relationship with Pakistan became vital to its war on terror. But America's withdrawal from Afghanistan saw it drop Pakistan as a strategic partner. Now America is much closer to India, seeing it as a vital partner in containing Chinese power in Asia.
I think the other big shift in the region is that China and Pakistan have also moved much more close together. China has sold Pakistan very advanced military equipment, and although China isn't necessarily willing to protect Pakistan from attack, I think it is willing to give Pakistan diplomatic cover in places like the United Nations.
Normally, the world would expect America to try to mediate again. But Donald Trump is not obviously engaged with the matter. Yesterday, he claimed the two countries, who've only existed since 1947, have been fighting for hundreds of years. Well, here with me is Alexander Evans, who served as Deputy and Acting High Commissioner in both India and Pakistan. He's now a professor at the London School of Economics. Well, we've heard both sides, and pretty belligerent they are. Let's start with the initial claim. Could that first attack in Indian-administered Kashmir have happened without Pakistani complicity or knowledge?
Could that attack have happened without the infrastructure that supports terrorist groups? Probably not. Do we know enough yet to know the precise details of attribution as to who was responsible and what the details were? Probably not yet.
Do you think we'll get the evidence?
We may, and I think different governments, India will have evidence, Pakistan will have evidence, other countries will have evidence. The question is what will be released publicly, I think, particularly in this battle for information that we're already seeing taking place.
And we heard Pakistan's counterclaim that India supports Baluchistan militants in Pakistan. Is that likely also to be true?
I think what you get is allegations on both sides. The challenge here is discerning what is accurate from what is not. What we do know is that a large group of tourists were gunned down in Kashmir, and that has triggered the most serious crisis between India and Pakistan that we've seen for, I would argue, well over a decade.
Right. Is there any external player that's relevant here, or is this a bilateral question that they need to work out themselves?
The ultimate decisions, I think, will be made in Islamabad and Delhi. These are two sovereign nations, they're proud nations, and they'll make decisions that they see in their own national interests. The interesting question is how much Islamabad may listen to Beijing, given the proximity of Pakistan and China. And China has played a discreet and quiet role in crises past. But what you're seeing is a chorus of different states engaged, encouraging de-escalation, but not necessarily condemning India's choice to take military action.
And what would China's position likely be? Because China is also in dispute with India over a part of Kashmir.
My sense is that China's risk appetite in terms of India-Pakistan relations is not that different to the risk appetite in Washington or London or Paris or indeed in Riyadh. Most other countries don't want to see India and Pakistan go to war. I think it can be argued that India and Pakistan's populations and governments don't want to go to war. But this crisis is anchored on a terrorist incident and a policy by India that has been in place for some time that said that there would be attacks or a response if incidents were at a suitable scale.
And why do you think we're not hearing more vocal exhortation in Washington and London to step back? I mean, you know, it was only yesterday that they were trumpeting a new trade deal with India. It's likely that the British government may have had some notice that this was going to happen. But there's been no criticism, no real very vocal sort of stop.
Well, look, there's an old-fashioned view that a lot of diplomacy is best done behind the scenes rather than by megaphone. But I think the key thing here is that the choice is India and Pakistan's to make to find an off-ramp from this crisis. And we're still in the midst of it. It's not clear yet when and whether Pakistan will respond, or whether Pakistan feels that the claimed response, they've made claims as yet I think unverified about shooting down planes, will suffice.
Alexander Evans, thank you very much indeed.